Amazing. Welcome to Training Group Live. Quite a special episode. On deck today, well, is it past, present, or future Area 7 Director Frank Rizzi? I'm not sure which one of those it currently is. Current director, right?
Current director, yes, sir.
All right. Well, I've tough time keeping up. And Scott, the Ghost of Christmas Past Area 3 director?
I'm the Area 3 director in exile. I'm coming from my super secret lair in Des Moines, Iowa.
Perfect. Well, I mean, people are getting added or removed too fast. It's tough to keep track of things at this point.
Yeah.
Well, appreciate you guys coming on and being willing to talk to me. We are, kind of to summarize, kind of give people an update of what's going on with the BOD, stuff you guys can speak to, and then talk about Area 3, what's going on, and then kind of where we go from here, I think is a fair summary. Before we even get into any of that, there's been a bunch of events, and it's tough to even keep it all straight. I made kind of a list, but you guys can correct me if I get things wrong. So at one point, well, currently I guess still, Scott was removed from the board. And then Frank got removed from the board. So during that time with Scott being gone, there was the conversation there's a bunch of meetings for my the whole entire area of club leadership, looking for an Area 3 interim director. That was a hot topic for a while. The interim director, or all the clubs around here, selected Luke Faust and sent that to the USPSA board. It's like, we want this name. This is the person. This was second in the elections. The board appointed Sherwin Greenfield instead, despite the recommendation. Let's see. There was lots of talk about that. Even talk I heard about the club level banning Sherwin from the property because they didn't want him. And then I know there's a lot of talk about people saying they will not work. You guys don't have to comment, but a lot of people in conversations I was in were people not even working the Area 3 match, saying they basically due to a dislike of Sherwin. A lot of talk. Well, of course, Ben's been good about instigating, but a lot of the swinger talk about Sherwin and his friends' activities. I know that's got a lot of pressure, or a lot of talk. People love the crazy talk. And that's got a tremendous amount of traction around me also, anywhere you look. So it sounds like then Sherwin backed out, or what's the right word? He withdrew, I think, from Area 3 interim director. So do we even have another one right now? I guess maybe you guys can't speak. That's as much as I know. So I don't know if we have one.
What
else? Sorry, go ahead.
According to the minutes, they were supposed to take office today. And if Sherwin's backed out, then no, we're and that's part of the reason I'm here today, to get a couple messages out. Number one, I absolutely want to come back. My job is not done. I had some goals when I became Area 3 director, and I've not accomplished them. The pieces are in motion to have there is a venue, a way forward for me to come back on the board. Ultimately, I didn't do anything that other board members haven't done. It's been proven. But I was singled out. There's tons of speculation. One of the things when I first got on the board, I was so overwhelmed by all the things that I felt needed some attention. And I finally just settled on the financial stuff. If we can't right the financial ship, all the rest of it doesn't matter. Let's be real for a second. USPSA is a great sport. The sport is made up of the people at the club level that you go and see once a week, once a month, whatever it is, and you have a great time enjoying the freedoms we have as Americans. And I think USPSA HQ can foster that and help it, or it can hinder it. And right now, with everything that's been going on, and the fact that we're losing hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, it's not helping. And so I've been working with prominent business leaders, prominent nonprofit CEOs, to get an idea on how to do some restructuring at HQ and potentially have us revenue neutral within a year, so that we have some breathing space to continue nationals like we want them to be, and not go deep in the hole every year. So some restructuring, some change of leadership, bring in, someone with some proven business experience that can read a balance sheet, keep us on a budget, and do some fundraising. I can't remember. I looked it up. I helped facilitate a range officer class this weekend. I've been an RO for 18 years. I've been a member, I think, for 20, but let's call it 18 for sure. I can't remember any significant fundraising push from USPSA other than to tax the members. And that's what I think HQ should be doing, is to look for stuff like that, look for ways to supplement the income from membership so that the members don't have to bear 100% of the burden.
Oh, interesting. I like this. All right, going back to my timeline, you guys have to correct me if I'm missing anything. Bruce 1 resigned from Area 1 director. Then he was appointed again for Area 1 director, the seat that he just vacated, the same time Sherwin was.
That just seems weird. Doesn't that seem weird?
There was a lot of talk. Again, the speculation I see, or that I've heard people saying, was that it was about dodging the lie detector test. I've had a lot of people say that, and I've seen a lot of that online. Yes, it seemed very odd to me. That's why, I've kind of written this down.
Why would you resign for a position in December and then in January come back? I mean, what's changed? I don't know. I can't answer that. That's my speculation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anything more than what was in the minutes.
And last I've heard, or I think I saw online, again, some of this is, hearsay, I suppose, that he then withdrew from being Area 1 interim director. So last I heard, I don't know if that's official. I guess it's not official because it's not in the minutes yet. That's what the online buzz is. Another important one, Area 4 director Mel resigned. Mel Rodero. So he's gone, and I don't think an Area 4 replacement has been designated yet.
That's correct.
And then somewhere in that mix, I think around the time Mel punched out, Frank was reinstated. I think that was the last previous board member or the board meeting, if I'm getting that right.
Yeah, I think Frank came back in the beginning of the so they recessed the meeting until Wednesday. Frank came back at the beginning of that after 1 or 2 executive sessions. And then Mel stepped down after Frank was back. Mel and I have had our differences, but I hope that he can go and USA becomes fun for him again.
I hope so too. My last interaction was hearing about him screaming at you at Area 3 from all the staff that was involved.
In fairness, he didn't scream at me.
Or screamed at staff, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the talk of the match for a while. Anyway, so it was quite a timeline to try to. They're probably not all in chronological order, but trying to keep everybody up to speed. So currently, Area 1, 3, and 4. I don't think interim directors have been officially decided on. If I'm correct.
That's correct. And in fact, I think Area 3 has a permanent stay until in the last board meeting, a motion was passed to put a permanent stay on that replacement until they get a legal opinion on whether or not bylaw 7.7 is actually legal. I know Frank's not going to comment on that, but some case law was quoted before they went to executive session, and I'm not an attorney and I'm not giving legal advice, but when I read through the case law and you read case after case that basically says the same thing, it looks pretty compelling.
Very interesting.
No comment.
Well, now I'm asking a bunch of stuff I know that you guys maybe can or don't want to comment on.
Nope.
Well, that was one of my questions. Was going to be I also posted a link in our local club group. So I've got some Facebook questions to follow up with this, but that was really the main one that everyone's asked me. Is like, hey, would Scott even want to come back at this point after hearing and seeing the way he was treated? So
Absolutely.
this is good to know.
Absolutely. The job is not done. The fight's not over.
All right. Well, Scott, we came up with a list of talking points at least, or stuff to make sure we have bullet points. I don't want to just ramble. And again, there's so much stuff to talk about. I want to try to stay focused. What about Area 3? Should we talk about Area 3 update? 'Cause you and I are both part of the match staff, I guess, as long as, well, I mean, I'll be real. If Scott is the match director, I will help out. It's not particularly convenient timing for me, but like if Scott's going to do it, I'm happy to help. If it's, and that's the echoing from a lot of people at my club. And like I said earlier, just being real, if it was somebody else running the match, like being real, if Sherwin ran the match, no one at my club was going to help out. Like they'd already all been voiced that. So having Scott in charge is what's really best for the match. So we actually have a match and we have staff. So anyway, Scott, sorry, what's the plan? Where do we go from here?
Area 3 is going forward. It will be a level 3 match, and I know I've taken some heat for that. You know, I'm the Area 3 director in exile. I'm gonna operate as if I'm gonna come back, and if I do that, who am I to not follow the rules? And the rules say for an area championship, it has to be a level 3 match. So it's going to be a level 3 match. My match staff is in place. Jim McBurnett's coming back as range master. Andrew's going to do stats and staffing. Aaron Heimke is local to Grand Island there. He's going to be my co-match director. We signed contracts with the hotel, so we have a room block. This week, staff packages will go out. We negotiated a very favorable rate. I'm working on scheduling a staff dinner. The staff is going to shoot over 2 days this year. The plan is for 14 stages. We're not going to make the staff shoot them all in one. I'm looking at probably 8 and 6, or actually flip that around, 6 and 8. They'll come in on a half day on a Wednesday, shoot Thursday. Competitors on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So that's the plan. I've been in contact with Hornady. They're very excited to have us back. They've pledged some support, and you know there's been a little bit of growing pains for them. They didn't take over the range until January 1st. There was a lot of, I'm sure you can understand how city politics work, politics in general. There was some discussion on the valuation of vehicles with hundreds of thousands of miles and poor maintenance, and you know the city thought they had one value, and in reality it was probably something completely different based on what I've seen out there. But you know, I've been in contact with them just as soon as frequent as today. Even as they were coming back from SHOT Show, they were absolutely there to respond to my questions and have us moving forward. So I'm going to operate with the assumption that I will be back, and I'm going to call on the previous staff members for Area 3 and anyone that's thought about it. Let's make this the best match we can, despite what's going on with the USPSA HQ and some of the board members.
I like it.
There will be cash payout. I'm going to set the amounts in advance. All that will be out in the next 60 days. We're not going to start taking money until March. So we have plenty of time to get all that done and in place, so that as a competitor, you know what you're getting into.
Perfect. As the guy doing the sponsorship, not going to lie, I really basically haven't been approaching since any of this nonsense started. I really haven't tried very hard to get sponsors, and I've just been hanging out just to see how things shake out. So if Scott and I have talked a bit today, and so I'm going to start reaching out to get sponsors at this point also. And we'll plan on doing the similar format to what we did last year. So random draw, you won't have to stay till after the match. We'll still do awards, but you'll get your prize, random draw while you're shooting, And that way, if after your last stage, if you need to head for home or the airport, you won't have to do the proxy or anything like that. You'll have your prize. Well, the next thing I think we should talk about, and it's been like the biggest question I saw on Facebook on the post I made, was should anyone consider renewing their USPSA membership at this point? Is it a lost cause?
I don't think it's a lost cause. So a couple of things that the members should consider. I'm not going to tell anybody what to do, but you just think about this before you make a decision on that. I mean, obviously, the first and obvious, if you care about USPSA or you care about the sport, then you'd want to renew your membership so you have the right to vote. If you're not a member, you can't vote to make changes. A lot of people have been arguing recently that, hey, listen, I voted for these people and they still got thrown out, so my vote don't count. Why bother? Well, I could definitely see how people feel that way. With the removal of the Area 3 director, with the attempted removal of me, I could see how people are very upset. But we still, that's really the recourse that the members have. You have to vote. You got to vote these people out. I mean, we got 2 elections coming up, Area 2 and Area 5. If you're in those areas, especially, I'd want to renew your membership.
Frank, you got to tell me the story. And I'm so sorry, I should know this better. To be eligible to vote, you have to be a member for, is it 1 year consecutive? Is that right?
No.
2?
So in order to vote it, you have to be a member for 1 consecutive year.
Okay.
I believe it's the year preceding May, if I'm not mistaken. That I got to double check.
Isn't that only for president?
No, I think it's for area director also. Yeah, I've been busy dealing with in order to take office, you have to be a member for 3 years prior.
Correct.
Oh yeah, we heard all about that.
Yes.
And why I never understood why they put that requirement in. Why 3 years? What's the magic thing about 3 years?
Why 3 years? I don't know, honestly. Well, I mean, I believe it was previously 2 years.
It was.
Right, and then they changed it to 3 years. I mean, I'm not quite sure.
There was probably somebody, I'll just speculate, there was probably somebody that had only been a member for 2 years and they didn't want them, so they changed it to 3. I mean, I'm half joking, but I've seen this stuff happen like all over the place.
I don't know.
At my club level, like it's like somebody's not getting the thing they want them to get. It's like, oh, what do you know? This is a requirement. It's just out of your grasp. Like that stuff happens a lot.
Yeah.
You guys don't have to comment. I just see it.
That was one of the changes that was pushed through at the end of the year in 21, along with there was a lot there. And that's something that once all this shakes out, I think we as an org or the board really needs to look into, and how did that all go down? If this goes the way I think it's going to go, and I'm back on the board and 7-7 isn't valid, where did that come from? Whose idea was that? Did we get bad information from the attorney? I don't know. I wasn't there. Frank, you weren't there.
I was not
We
there.
have no idea. That's a question, for those long-term board members that have been here for 12 and 20 and however many years. How did that happen? I don't know.
This is all making sense. As long as we're talking about not letting your membership lapse, Frank, do you care to comment on that story? Do you want me to? With Scott, could we talk about why you were removed and then reappointed or added?
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of weeks ago, apparently, I believe it was said in the meeting, the managing director said she was doing some research about everyone's eligibility to hold office, something that hadn't been done prior to me taking office.
What a coincidence.
So right. So she was going through all that stuff, and it was discovered that apparently in December of 2022, after I had already won the election, my membership dues were due to expire, or they were up on December the 4th. and I knew I didn't know the date that they expired. Honestly, all I knew is it was in December, and I needed to be a life member to take office. So in December, when December came around, I got paid, went online, upgraded my membership to a life membership, and that was it. I didn't take note of any of this. I wasn't aware of any 6-day lapse. So an email was sent out to the board informing them of this. And when I was reading through it the first time, I wasn't even sure what the email was about because there was a whole bunch of dates and numbers in there, and I'm looking, and then it finally dawned on me what she was talking about. There was a 6-day lapse in the membership from the time that it expired until the time I upgraded to a life member. So I saw that, and I'm like, well, my first instinct was this is not an issue because we've discussed this before. On the day that your dues are due to be paid, the day after, you're still considered a member.
Mm-hmm.
On the website, you still have access to the website. You still have access to the USPSA app. You still have access to the classification system. If I shot a classifier on December 7th and it was submitted, that classifier would have counted towards my classification. So effectively, I was still a member. And it's been said many times by Director of IT, Rick, that I believe it's a 60-day grace period built into the system that allows you access to the website. So, which is why I was still able to log on and upgrade my membership to a life member. So, for all intents and purposes, I was still a member. There was no lapse.
Okay.
So, but the argument was that there is no policy in writing saying that. There's nothing written down that says, hey, this is the policy, even though your membership is expired on this day, there's a 60-day grace period where you're still considered a member. There's nothing in writing. It's just the way they've been doing it. I don't even know how long. That's just how it's been done.
Well,
So,
it's the 40th year this year, so.
Right. So, and that was the main argument that the other side was giving, that, well, there's no policy, so it didn't happen. So you had a membership lapse and you were not eligible to take office. So, which I obviously vehemently disagreed with.
Mm-hmm.
And so they used provision 7.8 of the bylaws that state that if you're no longer eligible to hold office, you are deemed to have resigned. So there was never a vote to remove me, which was another issue I had. So that's why I refused to leave that meeting. I don't know if you noticed, I was not logging off. I was forcibly removed. So, yeah, after we came back and they voted not to waive the bylaws, I guess, to waive that provision in order for me to stay on the board. So I know that whole vote was very confusing to a lot of people. A lot of people didn't even understand what was going on. But there was a motion made to basically waive that section of the bylaws. It was a 3-year continuous membership. And if that motion would have passed, then I would have been able to stay on the board. So, and that vote actually failed. You needed a 2/3, according to Robert's rules, you need a 2/3 majority in order to do that.
Was it Attorney Jim arguing for a unanimous on that?
Yeah, so here's the issue with that.
And I don't understand that that's not supported in Robert Rules of Order anywhere.
So Robert's Rules of Order, believe it or not, actually doesn't support us. It doesn't support us doing that vote either. You can't vote to waive the bylaws. The bylaws are the bylaws.
Yeah,
that was true. My question. So
right. So I was even confused also because I had Robert's Rules in front of me the whole time, and I read it to him, and he still disagreed. And he says, well, no, technically you could do this because it's I forgot the term he used, but he said with a 2/3 majority that we could make that motion. And that was Ben Berry's argument that no, you can't make that motion because it's against Robert's rules, and you can't make a motion to violate the bylaws. That's out of order.
Correct.
Right. So yes, Ben was actually correct, which is why he abstained. He wasn't going to partake in that vote. It was basically an illegal vote.
Yeah, so, Ben's pretty brilliant.
Right.
I like him a lot.
So Attorney Jim's point was about the unanimous consent, the same thing that occurred for Mel for Area 4. So basically what he said was, if you had unanimous consent, it's basically like, okay, everyone agrees kind of to, just move forward. I'm already seated as the area director, and Everyone
Well,
agrees to just move forward and continue.
and you met all the requirements to be an area director. The
Correct.
requirements that they were arguing to have you removed by were to be a candidate. Well, you're not a candidate anymore. You're a director.
Correct.
And I'm sorry, you mentioned Area 4 Mel, but I was like trying to process all this. So
Hmm?
now that he's already punched out anyway and hit the eject button, but so would the board or did the board able to vote because he didn't have RO credentials and that was a requirement for being area director?
Correct.
Was the board able to take a vote then in their world to override that requirement for being a board member?
Technically, no.
No.
I mean,
Yeah.
if we're going by the letter of the law and we're doing things the right way, he should have been removed. He was deemed to have resigned as soon as it came to light.
Did a
And that,
vote happen about that? Sorry, go ahead, Scott.
There was zero support for that aside from Frank and I.
Okay.
There was no chance that was ever going to pass or even be made.
I just didn't know
And,
if it was taken to a vote or not. Sorry, go ahead.
and that's another thing that's yeah. So, but let's not, again, I just want to reiterate that I hope Mel finds joy in the sport again. And let's let him. He doesn't want to do this anymore. Let's let him go.
I get it. And he looked, I mean, just reading his body language, he looked pretty
He looked,
disheveled. Just
yeah.
he looked
Mhm.
like he was about to crumple and he just wanted it to end. So I get it.
Yeah.
What else should we talk about? Could we talk if you can or can't? I know emails have been flooding the board from stuff I see posted online. What do you, Frank? I'm assuming you get quite a few emails of those. Scott, I guess you've been nuked where you don't get those, but
Yeah,
what thoughts
the
on that?
board has been getting a lot of emails, an overwhelming number of emails, honestly, and they're still coming in. We got a bunch of them today. The members are still extremely upset at what happened. They're upset about the removal of Scott. They're upset about the actions the board took on Monday, and rightfully so. And for the most of the emails that we've been getting have been saying that, they're not renewing their membership, clubs are not going to reaffiliate, clubs are no longer going to run USPSA matches, they're going to run outlaw matches, hit factor matches, and they're upset at what's been going on. And I
Uh,
get it. I get it. I can't say I blame them.
Hey,
if I read, sorry, go
Yes.
ahead.
Frank, have you been, and I'm not asking for details. I don't want to put you in a bad position, but have you been presented any financials yet for 24?
No comment.
Okay. Well, I'd be curious to see if you could compare activity fees for the same time period, 2023 versus 2024. I wonder how much of an impact there is. Because as a board member, that would be a question that I would want to know. Is there a noticeable reduction in revenue from this movement? I would have to think there is. And I'm really happy to hear that the board is continuing to get emails. We need to keep the pressure on. And my only reminder to everyone that's emailing is, one, be polite, be professional, and be persistent, both in emails and in your interactions with board members when you see them in person. I'm going to circle back to the financials. The last publicly posted financials shows a $600,000 loss. 400,000 of that is spending. That is not a sustainable track. In the beginning of 2023, in it's either the March or April minutes, the board gave Don a 100% autonomy to control spending. So hopefully, when we get the final numbers for 2023, we see some improvement, some impact in a reduction of the amount spent. You have to look beyond the final, how much did we make or lose? Because if revenue comes up, but we spend the same amount, we're not making any progress. And that was the executive director was empowered with that. And I'd be curious to see what was done. Was rubber put to the road?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see that too.
So, well, you guys can or can't say that, but it sounds like it's a good idea for members to continue to send emails,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
sharing their views, what they think should happen, asking
yeah.
questions about financials or why decisions are made the way they are. Sorry, Frank, what were you gonna say?
I was going to say absolutely. Listen, the board is not USPSA. The members are USPSA. We're here to serve the members. I ran to serve the members, not to be on the board, honestly. So I want, at least I do. I don't know if anybody else, and honestly, I could care less about the other ones, but I want to hear what you have to say. Send the emails to the board. I would echo what Scott said. Please be polite because the screw you emails, you know what, those don't help. Be polite, give us your opinion, let us know what you think is going on. Give us advice. If you have an idea of how to do things, share it. We have 39,000 members. We have a lot of professionals out there. You know what? We don't know everything. I want to hear from the membership. I really do. I try my best to respond to everyone. Over the past week, I've gotten flooded with emails and messages and Instagram messages. The amount of support has been overwhelming. I mean, really, it's been unbelievably overwhelming, and I greatly appreciate it. And that's how I know that I'm doing the right thing. I'm trying to do the right thing. So I really appreciate everyone reaching out to me and all the emails. So, but again, send those emails to the board because you know what? I guarantee you they're probably not going to respond, but they read them, I assure you. And I read every single one of them. So keep those emails coming. If you have an opinion, share it with the board. You know what? We're here to serve you.
And to follow up on that, opinions from members count more than opinions from people saying I'm not renewing my membership. Be a
Yes.
member, retain your membership. I know it's spending money and it can be perceived as supporting an organization you don't agree with the direction, but if you're not a member, you don't really have a vote. So you have to be a member. You don't have to, you don't, that it can stop there, but you have to be a member. I mean, think how many potential elections we have this year. Um, you know, Area 1, Area 4, Area 5, Area 2. Um, we're going to go through between 24 and 25. We're going to turn over 3/4 of the board, and
Mm-hmm.
this is the time. This is the time. We've got to have. This has to be a call to action. Hopefully, everyone out there that's on the fence, especially for the area director elections that are coming up next year, now's the time to join so that you can vote and we can have change can happen. This is for the first time in years and years. This is a unique opportunity in our organization to take it back, take control, and wrest it away from years that got us to hundreds of thousands of dollars of loss. That we've burned away probably $1 million in the last few years, and that's your money. If you were a member during that time, that's your money. I know we all expressed frustration about our tax dollars going to Washington being wasted. Well, yeah, one vote out of however many millions, it doesn't seem like a lot, but this is one vote out of 30 some thousand, probably 20 some thousand that are available to vote. It makes a difference, and the emails make a difference. Keep the pressure on.
Love it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the change is coming. There's no doubt. 3/4 of the board is going to be different by the end of by next year. So we're going to have different people on the board, different viewpoints, different ideas. Change is coming. I assure you. So,
And if you're in Area 2 and Area 5 especially, Area 2
yes.
and Area 5, you be a member. Be a member. Don't let your membership. If you've been a member last year, be a member this year. These are, this is probably a once in a lifetime opportunity to vote and have your say over your area. I can't stress enough how important that is.
Yeah, and I agree with you guys a lot. And I mean, circling back, I mean not gonna say like the amount of peer pressure that the area directors get for, online posts, emails, in-person conversations. I heard a story just today about, people showing up at match and talking to an area director or a candidate where it's like they want to talk their ear off about, let me tell you what I don't agree with. Let me tell you what I think should be different. I don't understand why you're doing it this way. Like you guys said, those things are definitely effective.
Yeah.
Absolutely. At Optic Nationals, when I wasn't shooting, I made sure I was on the range, and I was walking around, going from bay to bay, and just talking to people. And people, there were people there who didn't know who I was, and it's like, hey, how you doing? I'm the Area 7 director. So what do you think of the match? What do you think of the organization? What do you think we could do better? I had tons of conversations with great people. That's what we need to be doing. Share those opinions, talk to people.
Yeah. My opinion is the Area 3 people elected me, but I served the entire membership. No one, if you were a member, you deserved my attention if you asked for it. And that seems kind of arrogant, but at the same time, I can't reach out to everybody. 39,000 emails would take a little bit of time to send.
Sure. Plus, everybody wants to get you on the phone too to talk your ear off for an hour at shop.
Yeah.
Well, I've got some Facebook questions we should try to make it through also. Let's see. We talked about renewing the membership. We talked about Scott coming back. There was a lot of them. Another one. There was again. This was during when Sherwin was appointed interim. There was a question that said, "Ask Scott if he would like to RM a level 3 action or an Area 3 actual match at Forest Lake on the same weekend of the Area 3 championship." Like that was talk also. Yeah. How do you respond to that, Scott?
Well, the Area 3 match, as we said earlier, is going to happen, and it's going to be another great one this year. Just like Frank's got his Area 7 match. The vote of confidence that Sig gave him is great to see. And I think it's healthy for us to have a little bit of competition, but I still think USPSA, the sport and the rule set is the best that's in existence right now. And the hit factor matches are interesting, but one of the things that you get with USPSA as you travel throughout the country, you know what to expect. If I step in a USPSA match in Iowa, in Idaho, in New York, they all should be relatively the same. And the only caveat I throw in there is some of those East Coast places have crazy laws, and you wonder what part of their country is it really there.
Sure.
Open 10 just does not sound like fun.
Open 10 is a lot of fun. You should try it.
Does not sound like fun.
That's part of the reason I like carry optics over production. It's like, I don't have to practice reloads. I just throw one in somewhere.
Hey, reloading is a skill.
Yeah, as a former production shooter, can confirm. Well, a quite serious question. Whoever wants to take this, or if you can't take this, the question is there any evidence of theft from the org? Are board members and org employees receiving kickbacks for promoting products and services through the org? And before I even answer this, the other thing I would say is there's a lot of questions underneath or comments about like free guns. There's a conversation that gets talked a lot around my area about an area director that got a free pickup truck load full of federal ammo. Like that kind of stuff gets talked about a lot. So whether you want to talk about money or merchandise, can you respond to that, or what would you have to say to that about theft?
Well, I could say I haven't seen anything. I have no evidence of that. I haven't seen any of that. If I have, I could assure you I would say something, because that's something I would not tolerate. So that's all that's all I could say to answer that question is I haven't seen anything. I haven't witnessed anything. I haven't heard anything, nothing concrete besides the rumors on social media.
Sure.
And I would echo that. I have not seen anything that would lead me to believe that there's been outright theft of any kind going on during my time on the board. You know, my only qualifier on that is from a financial report standpoint. All that we've seen have been what is presented by the managing director. I've asked and had asked multiple times for access to historical contracts, and I got a lot of pushback from other board members and staff about that. And how am I going to guide and make decisions for the org if I don't know, one, what kind of deals have been done in the past? You know, if I don't know what has happened before, how can I know what's possible and what's in place? And we're asked continually to vote on and approve stuff, but for a lot of times I felt like I was shooting in the dark. A presentation would be made and then be like, well, do you want to go forward with this? Well, what else is there? What else is in place? And it was just very frustrating that there would be one excuse after another as to why we couldn't get that, and then I was told I had it, but then all the links in Dropbox were grayed out, so I really didn't have it, and it would take a lot of time. So no, I don't think from what I've been seeing, I haven't seen anything untoward. I wouldn't call on everyone to renew their memberships and be a member and vote if I thought that. I wouldn't have been part of the board if I thought that. I wouldn't want to be back on the board if I thought that. But there are some things that need to be researched and need maybe not to the membership as a whole when you start dealing with contracts and other companies and counterparties, but as a board member, as a director of the organization, there is nothing that we shouldn't have access to. The only thing I would hesitate is, when I get back on the board, I don't need all employee stuff. I don't want all that. But to know what kind of deals have happened in the past, because how do I know if they ask us to approve another one, is it a good deal or a better deal? What I feel like I'm operating in, I felt like I was operating in the dark, and asked to make decisions that could affect the future of the sport and this future of the organization, not the sport. Sport's separate. We've established that.
Makes sense. The last question I had that was worth asking. The question is, at Frank's first BOD meeting in January 23rd, which this person clearly has researched this stuff. Was the board of directors aware that Mel didn't have his RO certification, and was he granted a 90-day grace period?
So to my recollection, at the in-person meeting when we were down in Florida, it kind of came up as like a sidebar conversation. It wasn't on the agenda. It wasn't like publicly discussed. It was kind of like in an informal group setting. It wasn't really discussed among all the board members, but it came up that because Mel's mom passed away, he missed the RO class that he was signed up for.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, he was not an RO at that time. So, and it was kind of like, well, yeah, we understand your mom died. That kind of takes precedence over taking an RO class. Go get it done as quick as possible. So that's that was the extent of it, and that was it. There was no vote. There was no 90-day extension. There was none of that. It was just, right. We understand what happened. We get it. It makes total sense. Just go get it done as quick as you can. And that was the end of it.
Was it ever brought up again in because I know they, to a certain extent, I felt like some of the board members, not yourself, but other board members were taken surprise when I started pushing on it in I think what was it, April? I think it was April meeting.
April, I believe, yes.
Yeah, and by that point, the election was what, in June. So it'd been what, 10 months?
Yes.
That's a long time.
Yep.
So
anyway. Yeah, it wasn't brought up again after that. And his explanation was, he wasn't trying to avoid taking an RO class. He had one scheduled, so he was planning to take one at the end of the year. It just happened to be that, his mom died right before that RO class was taking place.
Gotcha. No, makes sense. I appreciate you answering all the questions. I went back to the thread today just to make sure I tried to get people's questions answered. I'm sure they'll be contacting you directly, but I get the same question gets asked enough. It just makes sense to ask it here. Anyway, guys, we're about 45 minutes anyway, which I don't want to make this like a 2-hour podcast because as a frequent podcast listener, it turns into a lot to listen to. Is there anything we didn't talk about that you guys want to? I appreciate you kind of going through the gamut and kind of catching everybody up to speed on everything that's happened so far and where we're at.
So I'll just say one last thing. So as everyone I think knows that I'm a match director. I run a match in Staten Island. I started it from the ground up. I was previously the president of my club before USPSA even came to my club. I went and shot a USPSA match at a different club. Absolutely fell in love with it. Fell in love with the guys there. Had a great time. And I came from, a rifle silhouette world and a bullseye world, or, I'm just standing behind the line shooting. It's like, holy crap, you let me run around and shoot? Like, wow, this is freaking awesome. And I pushed and pushed. So I started the club from the ground up. We started with, a 4-stage, we had 2 shared firing lines, a 4-stage match, and that grew into, now we have 5 independent bays where we run a 5-stage match. And I'm working on actually trying to increase the size of one and then split it down the middle so we have 6 bays. But anyway, so all the match directors, we put our heart and soul into this. Don't let this controversy, don't let all this drama, all the nonsense that's going on right now get to you, because that's what it seems like is going on. People are really, really taking this personally, and I know why, because I put my heart and soul into these matches. I really do. I bust my ass doing stages, doing setup, getting volunteers and, putting on major matches. It's not easy. So I do take it personally when stuff like this happens, and I do get pissed, So, but I want to say to all my fellow match directors out there, don't lose hope. Okay, don't make any rash decisions. Things are going to change. I've gotten emails from people that have been in the sport for 20 years and have been running matches. Like, you know what, we're not really reaffiliating this year. I wish you would reconsider that. Give it another year. Things are going to change. New directors are coming on board. New ideas are coming in. Things are going to happen. I would ask them to just please reconsider that, and not for USPSA, because again, the board, the organization is not USPSA. We are USPSA. The members are USPSA. The people that shoot the sport, the people that put stages on the ground, the people that bust their ass and volunteer for days and days and travel all over the place to put on great matches. We are the sport. The board is not the sport. So that's kind of how I feel. I want to leave it at that. Let's not burn this thing down to the ground so there's nothing left. Reconsider, reaffiliating, give it another chance, give it another year. Let's try to get things turned around and let's right the ship and get things going in the right direction.
Man, I got nothing.
That's all I got.
I can't follow that act.
Yeah, I'll follow up with that other than to say, hey, you can peace out or you can be part of the solution. And to be part of the solution, you've got to vote. Keep up the emails, keep the pressure on, keep asking the hard questions, and be there. This is the time. We can check out and get whatever happens in the next 18 months, or we can be there and we can continue to keep the pressure on and make this organization be the sport that we love and that we came to, and don't let them win, because Frank says it's personal. I think some of the board meetings have been very personal, and we've been the victims of some personal agendas. Don't let that be what USPSA ends up and goes down in flames. Fight it, and keep fighting and keep the pressure on.
I can't even come up with I got nothing after that. You guys are on point. I really appreciate you taking the time to to podcast with me. If somebody wants to get a hold of you, Frank, is it just the board is the best way to get a hold of you? Like that way I guess your peers see it also, or you'd be what, area 7 at USPSA.
Area 7 at USPSA.org. Yes, my email does work again.
Or it'd be board at USPSA.org.
Board at USPSA.org. Just be aware that when you use that email alias, that goes to all the board members plus some of the employees. So it does go to Jake, Troy, and Rick, and Donna. So if you want to email just the board members only, just use the area number, area 1 at USPSA.org, area 2, and president at USPSA.org.
It seems really weird, this spot aside why you'd be emailing the board and you get a bunch of people emailed in the chain that aren't board members, but
so the explanation that we got on that real quick is that sometimes, obviously, I don't do this for a living. I'm a volunteer. I work. I have a day job. If someone asks a technical question or a rules question or something like that, there are other people that could answer much quicker than I probably will. That would be on there. So that was the explanation I gave, and I guess, yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
It sort of makes sense.
Sure thing, pal.
Yeah, exactly.
Scott, if people want to contact you, how would you want to be contacted?
Sure. I respond to Facebook messages, Instagram DMs. My email is S, like my first name, and my last name, ARNB as in Bravo, URG at gmail.com. I've included, since day one, my personal cell phone number on replies to USPSA questions. If you have that number, use it. I can't promise I'll pick up every time. But I also respond to texts, and I will call back. I have definitely received a few calls that I won't call back. There have been a few people that have been a little. Anyway, so yeah, let's set this at a positive note. Keep up the pressure, keep up the fight.
Perfect. Well, anyway,
the fight's not over.
Most certainly it's not.
Like what I'm hearing. Again, thank you guys for taking the time. I think this was excellent.